should say. First, the weather story as well. Very icy in its own right. So we're now looking at the snow flying across the plains. Fox Weather says that things are going to get worse. A potentially historic winter storm is the way it's being looked at right now. It threatens more than 200 million people across the nation in more than 40 states. It's a massive storm in size and depth. Dangerous ice and snow are also big concerns here. Let's go live to Fox Weather meteorologist Kiana Lewis. Hi, Kiana.
Hi there, Martha. Good to talk to you today because this is going to be where we really start to see this storm come into full shape. We have this low pressure system rolling out of the Rockies right now. You'll notice that it is a really massive storm stretched over more than 2,000 miles at this point in time. Everywhere from Texas over towards Virginia into New England are going to be a part of this storm. We have a couple of winter weather alerts. They are up across the board. This takes us through the majority of the weekend. It really does depend on where you are. That continues to be where you see maybe that ice storm warning across parts of the southern plains back towards the southeast. That's going to be the most important, most impactful part of this storm. To the north, we have winter storm warnings. That's where we could see up to a foot of snow in a lot of areas, at a minimum about a half a foot to about 8 inches in some places. So this is going to be a wide array of different impacts that we're watching play out. As I mentioned, it's starting to unfold right now. Here's where that low pressure system's emerging out of the Pacific. It's bringing in some moisture across the southwest and over towards, say, Texas. Notice that we're starting to see that switch over to some wintry mix. This is going to be our ice component in northern parts of Texas, southern Oklahoma, and then we're also watching that snow take shape across Kansas back towards the central plains. So going through the latter half of tonight, this will only continue to grow in size, and it will start to impact more people as we get into the latter half of the weekend. The ice threat is going to be top of mind, especially if you're across the southern plains, the Tennessee Valley, moving into parts of the mid-Atlantic. This zone here is where we have that bright shading of white. That's upwards of at least 3/4 of an inch of ice. So that's going to be heavy ice weighing down on power lines, trees. This could bring in widespread power outages across a good chunk of the country. We may get some sleet that mixes in, hopefully so that would cut down on some of the ice formation, but of course that ice is top of mind. So if you're in any of those areas, you want to make sure that you have a backup generator in place, a plan in place. And then on top of that, we have this heavy snow that really takes aim towards the mid-Atlantic and the northeast. Parts of the mid-Atlantic could see upwards of a foot of snow. That would be the heaviest snowstorm in one event that we've seen in over a decade. That also could lead to some power outages here too, especially for the mid-Atlantic, where we see that switch over from wintry mix to a little bit of that snow. So this is going to be where we could see some of our highest power outages. The same is said back towards the Tennessee Valley through at least Monday. This is the timing of everything. We talked about this unfolding now. It really takes us through a good chunk of your Saturday for the southern plains, pushing into the southeast by Saturday evening, and eventually starting to move into the northeast. We have this coastal low that sets up shop. This is going to be our big snowmaker for areas like New York City, Baltimore, D.C., and even all the way up into Boston, where we're looking at least a foot and a half of snow expected in those areas.
Wow, that was great. That was very informative. Kiana, thank you very much. It really is going to impact such a huge part of the country. So let's bring in storm chaser Mark Bennett, who's in North Carolina, one of the dozens of states that are in the path of this storm. What are you seeing there, Mark?
Well, so far, by the way, good to be with you. So
You
far,
too?
it's like in the 50s here today down in Wilmington, where I am. But that's going to change. This deep Arctic air is going to come in, and we're going to have what we call cold air damming, where the thick Arctic air gets set up east of the Appalachians, and then that'll start to erode probably. And you know what? We're going to have to be rooting this time for sleet. Most snow weenies hate sleet. We're going to need the sleet this time to really save us from some of these massive ice accumulations and hopefully knock down some of that power outage potential, because sleet robs what we call the QPF. In other words, basically when you have a sleet pellet, you get rid of a bunch of snowflakes. And in this case, if we can get the sleet and not the freezing rain, that could be a really big plus on this side of the Appalachians here in the Carolinas.
Very interesting. So the sleet is, can you explain that again, the difference
Yeah.
between the sleet and how it might mitigate some of the danger here?
Sure. So normally when we see a big snowstorm and you get sleet, that robs the available moisture in the atmosphere because it takes more of what makes the snowflakes to make the sleet. So you cut down your snow totals. In this situation, we don't want the rain falling through a shallow area of very cold air below freezing at the surface and accumulating on surfaces. We'd rather have these little snow pellets or sleet pellets, as it were, instead of the raindrops, because freezing rain is literally rain falling from the sky into a freezing air mass. In fact, when it gets really cold here in Wilmington, North Carolina, yet we don't have a winter storm, I'll turn the hose on to get the trampoline all iced up. I make my own freezing rain. For the kids, they love it. But
Right.
for power outage situations and travel and whatnot, no bueno.
A little an ice rink of sorts there.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mark. We're going to be obviously watching this. Everybody's checking the Fox Weather app to see how it's going to impact their area. And it's the ice storm stuff that is super dangerous. And we'll see what the snow accumulation looks like in the Northeast as well, where it looks like it could pile up quite a bit. Mark Sudduth, thank you.
Sure.
Local, state, and federal officials are getting their personnel ready to deal with the effects of the storm. Many states have already issued emergency declarations. Officials are urging residents to stay home. For those who do not, delays on roads and airports could be long. Correspondent David Spunt has details from outside Reagan Washington National Airport. Good evening, David.
Brett, good evening to you. Those delays and cancellations are piling up. Our latest number, more than 3,400 delays and more than 600 cancellations. Meanwhile, officials from Maine to Massachusetts to Virginia, all the way down to Texas, are warning people on the roads to be careful.
I look for the fastest flight out and just try and get ahead of the storm.
From the air,
weather can be unpredictable.
To the ground, this weekend is shaping up to be a headache for tens of millions in the storm's path.
That will lead to whatever slush that melted over the course of the previous day to turn into ice that night. And that's obviously incredibly problematic for traveling.
The weather expected to dump around a foot of snow in the nation's capital.
Cold weather like this mixed with precipitation puts people in a lot of danger.
The federal government also coordinating closely with states.
The big thing is, stay home, have supplies, and be ready.
Officials in Georgia preparing for significant amounts of ice, but help may not be instant.
We want to make sure that everyone is being safe. If there are trees down along a road, if it's incredibly icy, we may not be able to go out.
The storm expected to affect millions all the way from Maine south to Texas.
With it being a sustained event, that doesn't mean that there might not be hazardous travel conditions throughout the duration of the storm.
Grocery store shelves in Tennessee emptying and quickly. And people are fueling up with propane in South Carolina.
It's going to be the Black Friday of storm prep.
Yeah.
Over the course of the past 2 days, I think I've answered at least 350 phone calls about generators, propane, ice melt, gas cans.
Right now, 17 states plus the District of Columbia are under a state of emergency. That number could increase depending on the conditions. Brett?
David, thank you.
So already nearly 3,000 delays at the airports and counting. Problems piling up right now ahead of this monster winter storm threatening more than 200 million people across 40 states. Correspondent Madison Scarpino reporting live at one of the nation's busiest airports, which is, of course, Hartsfield-Jackson in Atlanta. Hi, Madison.
Hi, Martha. Yeah, we are already starting to see those flight disruptions begin today. But tomorrow, things are supposed to get bad. So airlines are already preemptively canceling flights. We're seeing that with Delta. The airline saying due to the upcoming significant snow and accumulating ice, it's canceling flights at several airports in Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Tennessee, something Delta is calling necessary for safety. American Airlines announcing it's canceled 16% of tomorrow's flight schedule, and travel experts are estimating up to 15,000 delays due to the storm. But already today, delays and cancellations, like we've been talking about, they're growing by the minute. Many people that we spoke with, they don't want to risk flying if things get even worse this weekend, and some even moved up their flights.
Just gonna trust in God and pray that things go well, you know what I mean? And that we don't get stuck in Miami.
If you're ready to go home like I am, then get out of here as fast as you can.
Airline crews are not where they need to be. Planes are not where they need to be. and it's going to take a long time to move everybody out of the ATL airport.
Yeah, so it's not just flights that would be impacted by all this. Several states, like here in Georgia, Texas, North Carolina, and more, have declared states of emergency as driving conditions are expected to be nearly impossible. So the National Weather Service is warning people to be prepared and just stay home if you can. Martha?
Exactly. Hunker down, curl up, and wait till it's over. Madison, thank you.
So severe winter weather like this storm can turn everyday tech into a critical lifeline. Kurt Knutson, the cyber guy, joins us now with tips on how to prepare. Kurt, thank you so much.
Carly, good to see you this
What
morning.
should we be doing today?
You know, it's interesting. So you've got 35 states being affected. As Adam's talking about, ice is really our enemy here.
Yeah.
Especially for communities that aren't associated or normally experiencing ice storms. So this is the thing that knocks out power grids, as Adam was talking about. Also, cell phone towers get knocked out through ice storms. So if you live in an area where you don't normally have giant snowstorms or ice, you really need to be alerted today.
Oklahoma, Nashville.
Right.
You're right. Places
Huge
where people
places.
normally don't expect something like this.
Exactly. I want you to follow some of these tips because it's some very basic things we can do at home to get ready in advance of this. So now is the time to prepare. Our phone is really going to be our lifeline in this scenario. So right now, I want you to charge all your phones, your laptops, every extra battery pack that you might have, and then download offline maps. So, you know, you don't think you might have to leave at some point, but you always want to know where the roads are, because what happens when snow hits the road? You can't really see where you're going. Right, exactly. And then have those emergency contacts ready to go. Make sure that you've got emergency alerts and enhanced safety alerts active on your phone. How you do that is so simple. I want you to go to settings. You're going to go to notifications. You're going to scroll all the way to the bottom, and on that, it'll say emergency alerts. Like I'm there right now on my phone, and I noticed that I did not have enhanced safety alerts turned on. I want to turn those on. Why? Because when I have something local to me happening and the public emergency system goes off, it's going to hit my phone. It's going to know where I am, and it's going to say, hey, you need to know about this. At the same time, now is the moment to download your local power utility app. Why? You want to report your outage. You want to let them know, hey, our power's out. Next time, you also then want to know when is it going to be restored, and that's going to be your best communication directly.
So you could also be proactive, not just reactive.
You can, and then should your power go out, which it will for many people, I want you to think about how are you going to keep charging your phone. So obviously you want to fill up the tank in your car right now. Never start your car in a closed garage, obviously. You always want to just go in. If you have to go to your car to get your phone charged, keep a cable in there no matter what, and then make sure that when you run your car, it's outside, it can breathe. You know, a lot of people will start their car and they'll like just crack their garage. Never do that. At the same time, when you have your phone, you want to turn it into low power mode when your power goes out.
Right.
Why? Because
you never know
that's
when
going to
it's
make your
gonna go
battery
on.
last a long time, and text instead of call.
You know what, Kurt, I remember during Hurricane Sandy, I was talking to somebody who said, I got a text message from my power company and they were asking for money to turn the power back on. It turned out to be a scam.
This is the time that scammers come and hit people who are most vulnerable and most affected. So nobody should ever answer anything that requires money, anything that requires an action or is urgent to you, whether it's like, hey, we're part of emergency restoration services. If you want us to come to you next, click this link. Never do that. Just go directly to your power company directly, and don't respond to a link that comes your way.
And of course, you can download the Fox Weather app when it comes to weather alerts, watches and warnings, and cyberguy.com to get all those tips and much more, right?
Yeah, with the Fox Weather app, by the way, turn on those local alerts so that it will let you know when something very severe is coming your way, not just in this storm, but year round. It's a brilliant idea, no matter what weather app you use.
It's eggs, it's milk, it's bread at the grocery store. It's also tech on your phone.
Done, yeah.
Kurt, thank you so much
Carly,
for joining
good to
us.
see you.
Critical information. We appreciate it.
Let's check in with meteorologist Adam Klotz for our Fox weather forecast.
Hey, good morning, y'all. For a big weather system like you're talking about, we obviously need cold air. There is plenty of that out there. Frigid temperatures. These are your wind chills across the northern plains, the upper Midwest right now. Negative 43 is what it feels like in Minneapolis. Look at that, negative 32 in Chicago. All of this cold air is going to be mixing with some moisture that's going to be sweeping across the country. And then all of a sudden, look at all these winter weather advisories, from extreme cold to cold weather advisories. All of this ultimately turning into big winter storms that are going to be sweeping across the country. The cold area is going to be a part of this because ice is likely going to take down power lines. I'll show you more on that in just a minute. We're kind of still waiting for this to come together. This is some of that energy that's going to be shooting out of the desert Southwest, ultimately running across New Mexico, getting into Texas, Oklahoma. That is where this entire system begins before it sweeps across the rest of the country. On the southern tier of this system, you're looking at a big ice maker. On the northern end of this, that is where the snow is going to fall. In the snow, you could be seeing large swaths of the country that could be seeing a foot of snow, but beginning with that ice, that could be the most dangerous of all this. Obviously, it's going to make driving really difficult, but when you start to talk about half of an inch of ice, maybe up to an inch of an ice, that takes down power lines, that takes down trees, and then that takes down power maybe for days in some of these locations. But you're getting into Texas, the Dallas area, probably from Little Rock, getting over into Mississippi. These are areas where the ice is going to be the worst, and then it's going to, again, really thicken up as you get into the mid-Atlantic, get into the Carolinas, get into the Virginia area. Those are the spots where the ice will be the worst. Those are the spots where we're looking at the most widespread power outages. Everything here in the red are places where the power could go down and go down for days. If it does so, look at the temperatures behind this. So you're talking about power out, and then feels like temperatures by Sunday morning, or actual temperatures or wind chills. There we are. -5 degrees, 1 degree in Dallas, -11 degrees in Oklahoma City, 0 in Little Rock. Frigid temperatures for folks trying to ride out these power outages. Otherwise, just a little bit to the north of that, we start to talk about snow. These pink colors, maybe 8 inches of snow, getting up towards a foot of snow in some of these cases. That continues to be the case as you ultimately push up along the northeast. All of these purple colors, 12 inches of snow. I wouldn't be surprised if some of these areas saw 14, 15, 16 inches of snow. Isolated areas will see more than that. I-95 corridor is going to be a big spot to pay attention to. Snowfall totals could be really impressive. That going Sunday into Monday. So this is a storm that begins later today, and it's going to take us all the way through the weekend into early next week. Guys?
All right. Thanks so much. Let's bring in Ken Graham, director of the NOAA's National Weather Service. Ken, this seems pretty bad, the longest in so many years. And the thought is, to the last minute, we're wondering, did anything change? From your models, could anything change at the last minute?
Well, you know, what's not going to change is this is going to be a big, impactful event. I mean, I was looking at our weather.gov website, and 2,000 miles of watches and warnings. It's just absolutely incredible. More than half the country is going to experience winter weather, so not much is going to change. There's small details, how much snow, how much ice, a little movement north and south, but the big takeaway for the public is you got to be ready. This is a big, impactful storm, three-pronged, right? You're going to have the cold air coming in that's going to last for more than a week. You're going to have the snow, 8 to 12 inches, if not more in some places, and the devastating, catastrophic in some areas, ice that could knock out power, knock down power lines, trees, and that's a prolonged event and a dangerous event. So air travel, ground travel, a big impact, that's not going to change. That's going to happen.
You know, Ken, what's your advice to people who might be thinking about, should I go to work on Monday? Do we send the kids to school on Monday, or school districts that are watching? What's your advice for, or if someone has something planned, a meeting? Give us Give us some of your advice, please.
I love that question. And it's because everyone's thinking this, right? Like, what can I do? Can I travel? The big thing is just stay off the roads. I mean, listen to the local officials is the big thing. I mean, there's, check on each other. There's warming shelters. Local officials are setting up, different resources for people. But the big thing is listen to local officials. If schools are closed, stay home, stay put, because it's not just the snow. In some places, it's the snow and it'll be sleet and ice. We're going to have large areas of sleet, making travel absolutely hazardous. So the big thing is, stay home, have supplies, and be ready.
So the maps we're looking at show the storm's movement eastward as it comes from the west towards the East Coast. And from what I see, I mean, if you're all the way from Charleston up north of New York, you're in a bullseye right there.
Yeah, absolute bullseye. And it's interesting, the track makes a difference. I mean, these small movements in any of the parameters, right? The cold air or the low pressure coming out of the desert Southwest, or even the moisture. We have a warm area of moisture coming up at about 10 to 12,000 feet. What that means is those are the areas that we can see where you could get that freezing rain and that dangerous freezing rain area. So we've actually thrown everything at this at NOAA. We have an aircraft that went out to the Pacific to see how strong the low is out in the Pacific and the desert Southwest that moves across. And the Gulf of America, we have another aircraft out there looking at how much moisture. We've thrown everything into this forecast to try to pinpoint those danger areas. So, yeah, looking at that bullseye you mentioned, look, the bullseye in the Northeast, the bullseye Oklahoma, all the way towards portions of Tennessee, Kentucky, any one of these areas, Arkansas could see some of that ice and snow. Just the expanse, 2,000 miles. I mean, it's just an absolutely huge storm.
You know, it's so weird. In the South, they're not used to it. I remember going to the Super Bowl in Dallas, and it was just a little bit of ice, and it was cataclysmic. They just couldn't handle it. But give this to people in Buffalo, that's cold any other day almost. So in the big picture, you worry about the grid. What should we, I mean, is there anything that could be done now to prepare cities and protect cities, make sure that power grid is viable?
I think a lot of it is just the public being ready, right? There's going to be areas that you can't help it. I mean, it's hard to protect power lines from trees that fall, or power lines that fall from a ½ inch to an inch of ice. And at first that doesn't seem like much, right? A ½ inch or an inch, that is an incredible amount of weight on a power line. So the advice to everybody is, you know, have ways to be able to protect yourselves if you lose power. How do you keep warm? How do you have food? What do you do? But one thing I do want to mention, I was Hurricane Center director, and I've seen this so many times, I see it now. Please, everybody, just reminding everybody to be careful with using generators.
Yeah.
So power's going to go out. People are going to use generators. Don't put them in the house. Get them away from the house. I've seen this too many times over my 31 years, people losing their lives with a generator. So just asking everybody, please remind
you're supposed to
people
put
use
it
them.
outside, right?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Or in the garage. Can you put it in the garage if the door's closed?
Yeah, I would get it outside.
Okay.
I would get it absolutely outside. Wouldn't even take those chances. Yeah.
Okay. I heard they can't. I saw one report, a guy was trying to find a generator in Texas, went to so many different stores, gone. So shop right now for groceries, get water, get a generator if you can.
And stock up on all your firewood.
Yep. Thank you so much.
240 million Americans are bracing for a colossal winter storm. The storm is expected to bring double-digit snow totals to the Northeast and crippling ice from Texas to the Carolinas. Fox Weather meteorologist Bain Froney is here in Dallas to walk us through the full forecast.
Hey, Will, you know, this forecast has been intense. We've been talking about this for days on end. The main impact, though, is going to be the ice. I mean, that's the most dangerous part of this forecast. You can see here a big chunk of the country going to be dealing with that freezing rain as we continue to move throughout starting tonight and overnight into tomorrow. Here in Texas specifically, we'll start to see that impact late tonight and overnight again into your Saturday. But as we move throughout your Saturday, we're going to see these ice impacts impacting areas like Arkansas, Mississippi, parts of, Alabama as well, and moving all the way up towards the Northeast as we move throughout the next few days. But let's take a closer look at those snow impacts, because snow totals will also be on the higher end. I mean, we are talking close to 12 inches of snow in some places like Oklahoma City could be seeing close to 12 inches of snow once all is said and done. We're already starting to see some of that snow falling already. Now, moving up towards the Northeast, you can see in parts of Kentucky could see record-breaking snow totals there. Moving up to the Northeast into mostly our Sunday and Monday, even into New York City, the I-95 corridor, which is snow-starved, they could see close to 12 inches of snow there, maybe even more in some of those areas close to Boston. So a very impactful winter storm when it comes to those road impacts. But of course, travel by sky also going to be a major issue as we move throughout the next couple of days here. We're already starting to see those impacts at those major airports into Chicago, Denver, Minneapolis, already seeing the worst delays so far. Today's worst cancellations actually coming out of Dallas, where we're at right now. DFW, 135 canceled flights already, and we're just getting started. We are expecting to see a lot more of these cancellations going up. And again, this is a big chunk of the country. We have our Fox Weather meteorologists that are across the country, as well as our reporters that are going to be covering this storm from start to finish.
The conversation around this studio, Bain, has been about that first graph you had up, which is where will the power outages be? How long do we need to be prepared to run on a generator, to run without power? And you can see on your screen there, anything in white is where the biggest anticipations of power outages.
Exactly. I mean, even here in Dallas, we could see a good quarter to a ½ inch of ice accumulating on our roadways. Areas like Arkansas could see up to an inch, and that is just incredible amounts of ice for roads, but also for those power lines. I mean, it's going to weigh them down. On top of this, with the wind, going to be potentially breaking off branches, causing major power outages. And on top of this, too, the cold air, it sticks around. So anything that falls in the next 48 hours it's staying for a while.
All right. Awesome job. I know you're going to be all over this for the next hour and throughout the next couple of days live here from Dallas. Thank you, Bain.
Thanks, Will.
This storm, it is now forecast to stretch over 2,000 miles. More than 230 million Americans are in its path, and states are bracing for downed trees and power outages, and the grocery shelves have been gutted.
Yeah, forecasters comparing this to a storm that really devastated the state of Texas about 5 years ago. They are urging everyone to listen up and take it seriously.
This is going to be a big, big, impactful event. I mean, I was looking at our weather.gov website, and 2,000 miles of watches and warnings is just absolutely incredible. The big takeaway for the public is you got to be ready. This is a big, impactful storm. You're going to have the cold air coming in that's going to last for more than a week. You're going to have the snow, 8 to 12 inches, if not more in some places. Ice that could knock out power, knock down power lines, trees, and that's a prolonged event and a dangerous event.
Now we have our team in place. Adam Klotz is watching the radar. Bain Froney, Fox Weather, is awaiting the elements. She's live in Dallas. And let's begin with you. How's it going?
Hey, good morning, Bill and Sandra. That's right. I mean, starting off, the preparations are already underway here in Texas. And, you know, right now we're sitting at about 50 degrees currently here in Dallas, and the rain is coming down. But come in the next few hours, that's going to change over to freezing rain and sleet, potentially seeing 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch of ice accumulating on roads and also on those power lines. And of course, Texans are taking this incredibly seriously because of what happened in the Lone Star State back in 2021. That storm proved catastrophic for infrastructure here, knocking out power for millions, and is blamed for more than 200 deaths statewide. Now, that's not to say we'll see a similar scene unfold this time around, but it's leading to heightened awareness ahead of this storm. Also, Texans in the Metroplex area are picking shelves clean for food and water supplies in the lead up to this system in case folks are left without power or conditions become too bad to drive in. TxDOT has been pre-treating roads and repositioning crews into areas expecting to see the worst impacts from this system. More than 5,000 DOT workers will be working through the duration of this weather event, and similar action is being taken by other state agencies and utility companies to beef up staffing.
We as a state, we're not waiting until later today or tomorrow or the next day to get prepared. We are acting right now to make sure the roadways and all the affected areas are being layered with elements that will help ensure that we can prevent as much freezing as possible.
And Governor Abbott also issuing a declaration of or disaster declaration for over 100 counties throughout the state of Texas to just free up some more of those resources. But to say the least, I mean, folks throughout Texas as of right now are just preparing for the worst and hoping for the best.
All right.
Bill, Sandra.
Can't say we didn't warn them, right?
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.